Welcome to Oulton Park. It's round 8 of 9 for the 2017 Thundersport GB Championships, and it's the Thundersport Superteens here lining up on the grid. On pole position is number 26, Luke Hopkins. The rider here from Tainham was victorious last time out, of course, when we were racing in Anglesey. He's not competed the whole championship, but he's here to play, and he was rather dominant, shall we say, in qualifying on his Kawasaki. Of course, the Superteens here featuring Kawasaki's, Aprilias, Yamahas for this season, and KTM's as well as the lights go out. Ooh, it was close there. It was either a brilliant start or slightly before. We'll keep our eye on the times because we'll soon know, but that was Luke Fervet who really got off the line very well. A good start also for Franco Bourne at number... it was that Harry Lee who got off to a better start. We'll have a look in a moment as they come down the hill in towards Cascades. It was Harry Lee, in fact, but Hopkins it is that leads. In second place is number 102, Charlie Fowler, who coming into this one leads the championship by 28 points from Matt Bauer, number 78. So it's still all to play for. Jodie Fieldhouse there, number 18. Was she, with a decent result back in Anglesey, she's still in contention, and mathematically speaking, coming into this race today, she could still win the championship, but she would have to stick in a couple of really strong performances here today, probably have to win both races to really stand a decent chance of continuing that on. Fourth in the championship coming into this one is Franco Bourne, as I mentioned a moment ago, number 21. He's out there on a Kawasaki. So over the crest we go. Luke Hopkins then coming into this championship and immediately roaring away at the front, but a good start there for Harry Lee. Number 78 there is Matt Bauer, just going underneath number 7, Cade Fervet. Nice to have the Fervet brothers back out with us here this weekend at Oulton Park.
Yeah, all back from injuries, and although we've still got sore elbows and so on here and there with Luke, Cade, beg your pardon. I always get those two mixed up, and the older they get, the more I get them mixed up, It was quite easy a couple of years ago. But yeah, not perfectly repaired, but getting there, shall we say. Obviously, there's still some playing going on with 600s and the like, but they really do want to try and finish this championship, in a strong position, I suspect.
And Luke Hopkins turning up again, Sid. He was dominant in Anglesey. It looks like the same applies here at Oulton Park as well.
Boy, he's fast, isn't he? There's no doubt about that. Qualifying was tricky conditions, so I thought he did rather well. That wasn't out-and-out speed to get pole position there. And it's a bit tricky now. There's damp patches here and there, so don't look for any sort of mega laps, although they are pretty quick at the moment.
In the early stages they're very quick indeed. The Kawasaki's haven't always been dominant all year. The Aprilias have had their day in the sun this season at Thundersport. We've seen the Yamaha of Lawrence Edgley going very well, although I can't see him in the entry list here. So Lawrence obviously not racing here this weekend, but all of the bikes have been pretty even, although if you were to look at it here at Oulton Park, the Kawasaki's certainly look like they have an edge. Whether that's just down to rider ability or not remains to be seen.
There's obviously circuits that favour the various bikes, and obviously it's down to riders as well. Of course, it's not just the bikes, is it? You've got to ride the flipping things. That's the... Luke Hopkins certainly knows how to ride this Kawasaki, that's for sure.
Of course, over at World Superbike Championship, there is a Supersport 300 Championship. I presume, Sid, it really depends, but would they be allowed to enter this if they were coming over from that, or would they have to have different machinery? Are the rules slightly different?
Well, no, as long as they fit into the ACU regs age-wise. I've got to be honest, I'm not completely sure of the age regs for the Supersport 300. As long as it's a production machine, that is the main thing. Like the KTMs are restricted for the BSB or the British Championship edition that they are, and it's the same with the Kawasaki's. So, and obviously it's the same with the Aprilias. They're all restricted to fit into the ACU production rules for the riders of ages that we're talking about, kind of 13 to 15.
Well, at the moment, Luke Hopkins, who's had a play out in the 300 Supersport Championship a couple of times this year, is absolutely away with this. Roaring away from the pack. Charlie Farrer in second here, number 102, championship leader. There's double points on offer here, remember, so this is really important. He's crucially ahead there of Matt Bauer, who is his nearest rival. Now, if Matt Bauer stays there, then this championship will keep running. But Jodie Fieldhouse, just behind Harry Lee, here you can see pink and black bike. Well, unfortunately for her, she looks like she's going to finish in the top 3 of the championship, which I'm sure she'll be very pleased with. But any aspirations of winning the title here are slipping away. There is the lead then of Luke Hopkins as they head down the back straight. And Syd, despite the fact that we have got damp weather, the lap times are unbelievable here, being set by not just Luke Hopkins but those behind as well. We saw Charlie Farrer a moment ago into the 2 minutes, and Luke Hopkins looks like he could be on lap record pace here, because it's been some time since we saw the lap record broken here at Oulton Park.
Certainly was. A certain young Master Rouse, I believe.
Yep.
Chrissy Rouse.
Chrissy
Wow.
Rouse, back in 2010.
7 years ago. Wow.
That was.
But you know, you talk about that Supersport 300, that must have stood him in good stead to go over there and do that, particularly on some of those fast, sweeping circuits, you know, where you can probably hold a lot of those corners flat on that kind of machinery. It must help your new end.
Yeah, well, also you're racing up against one or two handy riders, aren't you, that you can learn from. There's quite a few riders in that Supersport 300 Championship that have had quite a bit of experience at that level. They know the circuits well.
But as I say, it didn't faze Luke to be out there qualifying in tricky conditions earlier, you know, either. So, you know, it's quite admirable, really, the way he's handling himself. Definitely mature for his years, I would argue.
Looks that way. Jodie Fieldhouse here has got past Harry Lee, but now here comes Cade Vervey underneath it into his ease. So Cade here, who hasn't, of course, been a part of the entire championship this year, so his chances of finishing in the top 3 hampered by injury and a couple of rounds that they missed as well. Down into Lodge Corner there, number 26.
Yeah, it was Cade who had the elbow injury, wasn't it? He was the one who was out for a little while. But, of the two brothers, that is. But, you know, I mean, I feel a bit sorry for Jodie because she's had a lot of bad luck with that bike. I think that with good luck with the machinery, mechanical-wise, she would have been right up there with Matt Bauer and Charlie Farrer, to be honest, because we saw her shine at Mallory, didn't we?
Yeah.
And, I mean, she was proper on it.
Just looking at the side of the sponsorship on the side of Luke Hopkins' bike, it looks familiar to me, that HM. Who is that? I've seen that for years.
You're not thinking of HM Plant?
No, it's not HM Plant. I'm thinking, for some reason, I could be completely out with this. What was the name of the guy who ran Kenny Everest back in the day at Bemsey?
Oh, Dave.
Dave. Now, is that the same? I might be completely out there. Is that even HM? I could be well out, but anyway, there we are. Over the top of the hill we go for Hopkins, completely dominant. He's already stretched out a lead of well over 10 seconds, in complete control, and the lap record's been broken. So we're already under the lap record. Chrissy Rouse's record is gone. Every lap at the moment, he is under lap record pace, and he might beat it by even more in a moment. A 2:02 was Chrissy Rouse's lap record, and at the moment Hopkins is regularly in the 59s and not far from the 58s, which is incredible, really.
Not perfect weather conditions, so
no.
one would argue he could probably go faster than this.
Chrissy Rouse's record, of course, set on the 125cc two-stroke back then.
It'll be interesting to see if he goes, because if you remember Max Cook, when he was out there with Connor Tagg in the national circuit at Donington, set a monumental lap record. Be very, very interesting if Luke Hopkins does that, to see if he can come anywhere near that one.
Yeah,
but because at the time that proved, even though all this new machinery was coming out, that proved beyond all reasonable doubt that the 125 little Rotax Aprilia was capable of being just as fast, if not faster, than anything else. It's all about the nut behind the handlebars again, isn't it? It's it's about the confidence of the rider. Can I do it? Yes, I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if Hopkins is out over at Donington, then it will be fascinating to see how he gets on. And by sweeping up here today, if he wins the second race as well, it looks like he's on his way to winning this one. It will be another 100 points for him. And I have to say that, rather bizarrely, if he was to then turn up at the final round at Donington, he would be actually in with a shout of finishing inside the top 6 of the championship overall. I don't know how that's even possible, having only attended 3 rounds, but we'll see if he turns up. He may not opt to do so. Here is Charlie Farrer in second place. Well, Charlie's doing everything he can. He's not pushing the boat out here. He knows that Hopkins is uncatchable as he just goes underneath the 500. The 500 freshmen are out in this race as well, but we'll feature those at another time, so don't worry about that, as Franco Bourne just has a cheeky look over his shoulder to see Max Lofthouse there from Burnley just trying to challenge him. But Farrer, if he finishes in second, it will be 40 points for him. Now Matt Bowers behind him, he'd be on 32, double points, remember. On to the start-finish straight once more.
One thing I would just pick up on, because one of the things that the last lap flag, as he gets into the last lap there, these Kawasaki's, they're quite a heavy machine compared, for example, to the Aprilia, let's say. Because as a road-going machine, it's power versus weight, and that's how they allow them to be able to be ridden on an L plate, basically. Now, the thing is, Luke is quite a tall lad, so arguably this particular machine suits him so well because he's able to wrestle that around a bit.
Well, yeah, you could say that, but then he's so far ahead of that lap record. I mean, a 58.4 Syd, that's almost 2 seconds off Rouse's record. I mean, that is remarkable. That record has stood here at Thundersport for 7 years, and he's not just beaten it, he's absolutely torn it to pieces.
He has, yeah. 58.4. Unbelievable. That is unbelievable, isn't it?
We've had some brilliant riders in the past racing here at Oulton Park. Okay, we've had some wet races. I remember the first year we came here in 2008 when Fraser Rogers ended up champion. Andy Reid was the winner.
Was the hero.
It was a race that I'll never forget because it was just a complete and utter dominant performance from Andy Reid in the wet. But what was the most significant factor of his dominance in that race?
They didn't have wet tyres.
They didn't have wet tyres, and he was on rails. He looked like he was racing in the dry, and he demolished the field, did Andy Reid. Anyway, checkered flag is out for race 1. Luke Hopkins has just completely and utterly wiped the floor with everybody that stood next to him here today. A great win for Hopkins. He made that look easy, and he's just taken the new lap record by 1.8 seconds. Many congratulations to him. Charlie Farrer, well, good news for him in his championship charge. He finished in second place, ahead of Matt Bauer, who he will contend for the title with until Donington Park. Kate Vervey was 4th in the end. Harry Lay was in 5th. Max Lofthouse 6th. Crucially, Jody Fieldhouse did not finish in that race. Didn't see that one. There is your winner, Luke Hopkins. Let's see if he can make it a double win. Race 2 coming up in a sec.
GB Racing, world-class motorcycle protection.
Race 2 coming up here for the Thundersport Superteens. On pole position there, Luke Hopkins wiped the floor with everyone and took the lap record in race 1. Looking to do the same again in race 2. Second on the grid is Rd8. And just done a little bit of looking in between races and confirmed that the HM on the side, HM quick shifters, the link is the same as Dave Carnell that me and Sid were talking about earlier. I don't know if Dave's still involved in it, but at least my eyes are not deceiving me.
Dave Carnell and Kenny Everest. Oh, well,
I don't think that Kenny was necessarily sponsored by HM at the time, but there's the links
well, he
there.
ran the team.
Yeah, he ran the team,
Dave
but I
did.
don't know if it was HM at the time.
No.
But anyway, whatever. We've got the link right. Away we go
But
from the line.
Wonderful memories.
Yeah, very good memories. Hopkins gets the lead into turn 1 as the rest of the Aprilias and Kawasaki's all hunt them down. As I said before, Yamaha's KTM's also in this class. Down the hill we go. Luke Vervey loses out on second place, and just a bit of a moment there for Charlie Farrer, championship leader. He was comfortably second in race 1 to take a few more points out of Matt Bauer, but he can ill afford a crash, especially when there are double points on offer. There's one more round remaining after this, as you probably know after what we said in race 1. That's at Donington. Jodie Fieldhouse here though in Sid in race 1, and no finish for her, no points for her. She looks, I think it's fair to say, pretty comfortable to finish third in the championship, but her title dreams and aspirations have gone
Yeah,
now.
I mean, it's such a shame because, I mean, she's a, oh dear, tap of the rear. I love when the riders tap the rear.
Especially on lap 1.
Follow me. She's an absolutely lovely kid. I say kid, she's 18 for goodness sake, but really, really good rider. But there's just been gremlins in that bike all year. Really unusual because obviously we've seen the RRVs race at much harder levels, like bearing in mind unrestricted. Unrestricted. So, and they've had 7 shades of poo knocked out of them. But this is restricted, and it's just been full of little problems the whole way through. And I can't believe that her and her dad have maintained the big grin that they've always got on their faces. Unbelievable. Really, really nice family.
Well, she's still going to finish in the top 3 of the championship. She won't be the first female to have done that in the Aprilia Superteens. Of course, Georgina Polden has finished in the top 3 of the Aprilia Superteen Championship in the past. But this is, of course, Thundersport Superteens. And at a time, I suppose, talking of female racers, when there's a lot of talk about it, given the recent Supersport 300 win for Anna Carrasco, the first female to win a World Championship level race, certainly in terms of solos. Great news.
It's funny, in race 1 you asked me about, like, could the Supersport 300 bikes from the European or World Series come and race here. I mean, if we could make it so that they could, so that it was even, a level playing field, we would. It's the same with like all the standard Moto 3 bikes and stuff. If they were equal, they're not. They're faster than these guys here. But if we could make it, so for us, the most important thing is that the kids all race together.
Yeah.
So if they're in other championships, such as Team Green at Bemsey, or the KTM Challenge at BSB, or the 300 at World Superbike, it doesn't really matter. If they can all come here and race together against one another and practice their racecraft, then it's good enough for me.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? At the end of the day, we want them all to get as much track time as possible. It's the only way that they're going to...
And one of the other problems is because, like, when the Superteens were the Aprilia Superteens, and they were all 125s, and we had like about 55 of them, they were all together, of course. But then, as it's splintered and various championships have all wanted a piece of the action, it's splintered, grouped the riders as well, and so you're ending up with potentially, like, say 10 to 15 on a grid, and that doesn't pay the bills, so it will fade away. All of them will suffer as a direct result if we don't keep our eye on the ball here, as it were.
Fantastic championship, and the name Superteens, of course, is known not just in the UK but worldwide, really. The champions that have picked up that trophy, we've mentioned it so many times before, regardless as to whether it's Aprilia based or not anymore, as it's it's not obviously now. We have other. It doesn't really make any difference. Your name will still be on that trophy,
Yeah, sure.
with the likes of Casey Stoners, Cal
Absolutely.
Crutchlows, etc.
Yeah. Oh, that's carried on through, and with Ian Newton's blessing, and of course we mustn't forget that the Aprilia Superteens, the series coordinators, Ian and Myra Newton are in competition, plus his team, Jimmy, Gibbo, and all sorts of help that he's had down through the years, with Will Hodgson and James Fulcard and various people who've come along, and and obviously you mentioned Casey Stoner. Well, Casey Stoner lived in a caravan in Ian's back garden for 2 years, for goodness sake, because they sold their house in Australia to come over here and race Superteens. And there's all sorts of stories like that, and it spanned 20 years. So to see it fade away would be, it would be unthinkable, really.
Some fantastic memories of the Superteens, of course, even from Thundersport onwards, from 2008. Fraser Rogers, the inaugural champion of the Thundersport version, if you like, of the Aprilia Superteens. Come on then, Sid. We've got a bit of time here because Luke Hopkins is just completely running away with this. By the way, he's broken his own lap record that he set in race 1.
Wow,
A
no.
58.065 means that he is now 2.2 seconds under the old lap record that stood
phenomenal
from Chrissy Rouse. So I've given you two already: Fraser Rogers, Chrissy Rouse, former champions of Aprilia Superteens. For a bit of fun, we've had 9 champions at Thundersport.
You wrong it.
So I'm going to give you. Well, I'll still commentate on this, but I want you to try and name as many as possible. We've got Fraser Rogers and we've got Chrissy Rouse. So in your own time, Sid. As we look here at Harry Late.
Well, there's Rory for a start.
Rory Skinner, of course, the 2014 champion. You're in.
Yeah.
3 out of 9 so far.
Well, I'm not very good on the memory front.
Well, don't think out loud.
That's why I have
Think.
you as a stat boy.
I'll reveal the answers when we get to the closing
Thank
stages.
you.
But
Really
if you can
kind
think of any, then
as you've just sat there and worked them all out.
well, yeah,
Probably on Google.
No, not at all. No, I've already written them down. I've got a good memory, Sid. I've been commentating on this since 2008.
Yeah, you have. Actually,
So-
speaking of which, you'll remember probably quite well when Dave Stewart and I pushed you out of when you hadn't even been on a bike with a gear change before. We pushed you out amongst Casey Stoner and Cal Crutchlow and a load of others, Chaz Davies, which I don't think you've probably ever forgiven me for, but
Well, Chaz Davies has still got the photo of him lapping me, which he
I've
every
got
now
that
and
as
again,
well.
tweets just for a laugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't say.
that was your first time out.
Yes, it was 2000 it was.
Yeah.
And I can't say I remember it fondly at this particular moment in time. But the Superteens certainly is a class that is very close to my heart. Not from just the times I rode in it, but because of Ian and Myra's involvement as well. Wonderful people, and without them, not just the Superteens, but certainly parts of Thundersport might not have run the way it has without the involvement
I'll
of Ian
stick my hands
and
up
Myra.
straight away and say that Thundersport wouldn't have survived, particularly the early days, without Ian and Myra Newton. Ian is here this weekend, still like a lump of rock. If you break him in, he's still got Aprilia straight through it. He's running Joe Collier this weekend on an RSV4, who has qualified extremely well. So, and he's looking fast. In morning warm-up this morning, looking even faster.
We'll focus now just for a while on the actual race that we're watching here, because Luke Hopkins, we know he's away with this one, but this is a fascinating development because Matt Bauer, number 78, has got himself ahead of Charlie Farrer. Now these are the boys that are fighting for the championship now. They'll finish 1 and 2, but in what order we don't know. 102 and the Kawasaki finished second in race 1, extended his lead over Matt Bauer, but Matt Bauer has found some speed in this second race, and I should just point out that both Farrer and Bauer are actually also under Chrissy Rouse's old lap record, Okay, they're not going to beat Luke Hopkins.
Which we'd be screaming about normally, wouldn't we?
Yeah, so there's 3 riders under the old lap record that was set in 2010. But this could be rather crucial. Matt Bauer desperately looking to claw back some points. Farah, though, has got the better of him as they break down into Lodge Corner. If Farah finishes ahead of Bauer in this race, as they are at the moment with the checkered flag coming out, he would go into Donington Park with 4 races and 100 points available with a 44-point lead. Matt Bauer's looking to cut that to 34 by, sorry, no, it'd be the other way. It wouldn't be that, would it, Steve? Come on, work out your maths a bit better than that. It would be around about the 20 mark. So, as it stands right now, before the checker flag goes out, there is a 36-point difference, so it'd be 26, the advantage for Farah going into the final round. It's quite a big difference. So second and third place here means a lot to both these riders that you're looking at. 102, Farah, the leader of the championship, and Matt Bauer just behind him. Bauer's got to throw the kitchen sink at this, because 44 points, if that's what the deficit will be going into Donington, he was going to not only have to try and win or finish second in all the races, but he's going to have to hope that Farah has an absolute disaster somewhere along the lines.
There's nothing, if you look at these bikes, there's nothing between them, is there? It's just a matter of how quick you get on the gas and, you know, how good you are, basically. It's, you know. But I would have expected to see the Aprilia, because it's a much lighter, more agile, you'd expect to see that cornering much faster than the Kawasaki.
I just want to try and put this into some sort of perspective here. Their lap times as the last lap flag comes out. Luke Hopkins, who just goes across the line there, a 1:58 flat. Now, I know that they're completely different motorcycles, but that would put him in the top 6 of the Thundersport 500s.
Yeah.
Completely different motorcycles, I know, but just worth pointing out. Farah at the moment then has the advantage for second place over Matt Bauer. Matt Bauer then on that Aprilia, looking to try and find a way, looking for any mistake he can find. There he is, cascades into the left-hander. That opportunity is gone. Now he tries to get on the power as early as possible. Can he get into the slipstream? As Sid said, there's not a lot splitting the speed of those bikes. Further back there you can see Franco Bourne. Franco's looking like he's probably going to be finishing this year
Come on then, Steve.
4th or 5th place.
What's your list?
The list of Aprilia Superteens champions with Thundersport then, as Farah looks like he's probably just got the better now of Matt Bauer. 2008, Fraser Rogers. 2009, Wayne Ryan.
Of course.
2010, Chrissy Rouse. 2011 was the closest ever Thundersport Aprilia Superteens championship finish. It was a cigarette paper and a single point that meant Joe Spencer went on to win the race ahead of Tom Oliver. Zach Corduroy, the winner in 2012. Lewis Rollo, 2013. Rory Skinner, 14. Max Cook, 2015. And last year, it was Jack Scott.
By a point, I think.
Something
along
those
those
lines, yeah.
Yes, well done, Steve.
So, will it be Charlie Farah or Matt Bauer, the names that are etched onto that wonderful trophy? One thing we can say is the winner's enclosure is going to feature this man here today. Brilliant win again. Absolutely obliterates the lap record and takes 100 points from winning both of today's double points races. He has won that by a country mile here at Oulton Park. Charlie Farah did finish in second. That could be crucial in terms of the championship. Matt Bauer finishing third ahead of Jody Fieldhouse. Cade and Luke Furvey, the brothers there, 7 seconds splitting them in 5th and 6th place. There is Hopkins in the middle, Charlie Farah on the left, and on the right, Matt Bauer. And this is how it looks in the championship then. So as you can probably see, 44 points. This separates Farah and Bauer going into the final round. Looks like Fieldhouse should just be alright to hold on to third overall. Let's see what happens then at the final round. Donington Park, join us for that next time.